Toba Batak people. Toba people Surat Batak, also referred to as Batak Toba people, are the largest group of the Batak people of North Sumatra, Indonesia. The common phrase of Batak usually refers to the Batak Toba people. This mistake caused by the Toba people being the largest subgroup of the Batak ethnic and their differing social habit to self-identify as merely Batak instead of Toba or Batak Toba, contrary to the habit of the Karo, Mandailing, Simalungun, Pakpak communities who commonly self-identified with their respective subgroups. The Toba people are found in Toba Samosir Regency, Humbang Hasundutan Regency, Samosir Regency, North Tapanuli Regency, part of Dairi Regency, Central Tapanuli Regency, Sibolga and its surrounding regions. The Batak Toba people speak in the Toba Batak language and are centered on Lake Toba and Samosir Island within the lake. Batak Toba people frequently build in traditional Batak architecture styles which are common on Samosir. Cultural demonstrations, performances, and festivities such as Sigale Gale are often held for tourists. Paleontological research done in Humbang region of the west side of Toba Lake suggests that human activity had existed 6,500 years ago. The genetic test of the Toba Batak people shown that the Toba Batak are the descendants of different people with distinct genetic components. The ancestors of the Toba Batak are the people migrated from Formosa, the Philippines, southern India, Indochina, Burma, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and South China thousands of years ago. History. Batak kingdoms. There were numerous kingdoms and dynasties in the history of the Batak and Toba Batak people. The last dynasty in the Toba Batak people is the Sisingamangaraja dynasty with 12 successive priest kings called Sisingamangaraja from the Sinambela clan. During the time when the Batak kingdom was based in Bakura, the Sisingamangaraja dynasty of the Batak kingdom divided their kingdom into 4 regions by the name of Raja Marapat, which are Raja Marapat Silindung, Raja Marapat Samosir, Raja Marapat Humbang, Raja Marapat Toba. Dutch colonization. The Dutch colonization starts with the defeat of King Sisingamangaraja Roman XII, ending the 30 Years Batak War. The Dutch colonization formally began with the annexation of the Onafhankelijk Batak land or the Free Batak country into the Dutch East Indies and the formation of Tapanuli Residency in 1910. The Tapanuli Residency is divided into 4 regions that is called Afdeling in Dutch language means section, and today it is known as Regency or city, namely Afdeling Padang Side Puan, which later became South Tapanuli Regency, Mandailing Natal Regency, Padang Lawas Regency, North Padang Lawas Regency, and Padang Side Puan. Afdeling Nias, which later became Nias Regency and South Nias Regency. Afdeling Sibolga and Omnenlinden, Afdeling Bataklinden, which later became North Tapanuli Regency, Humbang Hasundutan Regency, Toba Samosir Regency, Samosir Regency, Dairi Regency, and Pakpak Barat Regency. Japanese occupation. During the Japanese occupation of the Dutch East Indies, the administration of the Tapanuli Residency had little changes. Post-independence of Indonesia. After the independence, the government of Indonesia retained Tapanuli as residency. Dr. Ferdinand Lumban Tobing became the first Tapanuli resident. Although there were changes made to the name, but the division of the region was still the same. For example, the name of Afdeling Bataklinden was changed to Luhak Tanah Batak, and the first Luhak Federated Region appointed was Cornelius the Haming, who was once also a Demang chief Silindung. The title Onderafdeling in Dutch language means subdivision is also changed to Jurong, and Demangs that supervises Onderafdeling are promoted as Kepala Head Jurong. Onderdistrict subdistrict then became Jurong Kessel, and is supervised by Kepala Jurong Kessel, which was previously known as Assistant Demang. Just as it was in the past, the government of the Tapanuli Residency were divided into 4 districts, namely Silindung Regency, Samosir Regency, Humbang Regency, Toba Regency, Transfer of sovereignty in early 1950. During the transfer of sovereignty in early 1950s, the Tapanuli Residency, that was unified into North Sumatra province, were divided into four new regencies, namely, North Tapanuli Regency, previously known as Batak Regency; Central Tapanuli Regency, previously known as Sibolga Regency; South Tapanuli Regency, previously known as Padang Puan Regency; Nayas Regency. Present. In December 2008, the Tapanuli Residency was unified under North Sumatra province. At the moment, Toba is under the Toba Samosir Regency's region, with Balij as its capital. Culture. The Toba Batak people practices a distinct culture. The central foundation of their culture is the customs or adat called Dalahan Natalu, meaning the three-legged stove, vuvid stove, vuvid stove, legged stove, vuvid stove. The Toba Batak is generally regarded as a patriarchal society. While the role of men is central in the Toba Batak society, the role of women is very crucial, with the existence of the Toba Batak concept of hila hila, where women and their families hold a higher ground in familial relations. With the conversion to Christianity of the Toba Batak people in the 19th century, Christianity played a vital part of the life of Toba people, with church. Just as it is with other ethnicities, the Toba people have also migrated to other places to look for better life. For example, majority of the Silindung natives are the Hutabarat, Pangabian, Simorankir, Hutagalung, Hutapia, and Lumbantobing clans. Instead, all those 6 clans are actually descendants of Guru Mangalaksa, one of Raja Hasabuan's sons from Toba region. So it is with the Nasushan clan, where most of them live in Padang Puan, surely share a common ancestor with their relative, the Siahan clan in Balij. It is certain that the Toba people as a distinct culture can be found beyond the boundaries of their geographical origins. According to the folklore of the Batak people, the first ancestor of the Batak people is Si Raja Batak, literally means King Batak or the King of Batak. His origin is believed to be from a Toba village known as Sayanjar Mila village, situated on the slopes of Mount Pusak Buhit, about 45 minutes drive from Panguroran, the capital of Samosir Regency today. The Toba clans and families. A surname or family name Marga is part of a Toba person's name, which identifies the clan or family they belong to. The Batak Toba people always have a surname or family name. The surname or family name is obtained from the father's lineage paternal, which would then be passed on to the offspring continuously. Nangalan, Napatupulu, Pardid, Gultam, Pangabian, Sililahi, Siahan, Simanjuntak, Sihaming, Satoris, Panjatan Sitampal Marbung, Lumbin Tobing, Aratanang Pangarabuan, Manurong Marpong, Utapia, Tambunan, Silatanga, Tampubalan, Sanaga, Sidibuter, Auyuan. However, the number of all Toba Batak clans are in hundreds. Traditional house. The traditional house of the Toba people is called Rumah Balon. It is a rectangular building that can house up to 5 or 6 families. One can enter a Rumah Balon through a staircase in the middle of the house, with odd numbers of steps. Odd number of staircase means offspring of slave, even number of staircase means offspring of king. When a person enters the house, one must bow in order to avoid one's head from knocking the transverse beam at the entrance of the traditional house. The interpretation of this is that the guests must respect the owner of the house. Boat. The traditional boat of the Toba Batak people is the salu. It is a dugout canoe with boards added on the side bound with iron tacks. The boat is propelled by sitting rowers who sit in pairs on cross seats. Views of Toba people in Indonesian culture. The Toba Batak are known throughout Indonesia as capable musicians, and are perceived as confident, outspoken, and willing to question authority, expressing differences in order to resolve them through discussion. This outlook on life is contrasted to Javanese people, Indonesia's largest ethnic group, who are more culturally conciliatory and less willing to air differences publicly. Religion. An overwhelming majority of the Toba Batak people are adherents of Christianity. The value and practice of Christianity are absorbed deeply into the daily life of the Toba people in combination with the practice of Toba traditional customs known as adat. The currently pertaining traditional law, customs, and regulations used by most Batak Toba people to regulate their social relations nowadays were products of discussions between the Christian Toba Batak Rajas with the German missionaries during the 1886 Tuiv. The result of this discussion is the codification of Batak Toba customs by the Christian Rajas and the missionaries into two treaties. Treaties Ruhat Parsayaran de Habitat in 1898, or the customs regulating the social life of the Batak referred to as Ruhat, and Patak Dohat Uhumnai Halak Batak 1899, or laws and regulations of the. Most of the Toba people are adherents of Protestantism, with Lutheranism as the biggest denomination. After Protestantism, Catholicism is the second largest religious belief among the Toba people. Being the largest ethnic group in the Indonesian Protestant community, it is common for Protestant churches in Indonesia to provide service in Toba Batak language. The first Protestant missionaries who tried to reach the Batak highlands of inner northern Sumatra were English and American Baptist preachers in the 1820s and 1830s, but without any success. After Franz Wilhelm Junghun and Hermann Neubronner van der Tuck did intensive research on Batak language and culture in the 1840s, a new attempt was done in 1861 by several missionaries sent out by the German Rhenish Missionary Society RNG. The first Bataks were baptized during this year. In 1864, Ludwig Ingwer Nammensen from the German Rhenish Missionary Society reached the Batak region and founded a village called Huta Dame Village of Peace in the district of Tapanuli in Tarutung, North Sumatra. The Batak Christian Protestant Church Huria Kristen Batak Protestant HKBP is the largest Protestant church in Indonesia. It was founded by the German missionaries and still regarded as the traditional church of the Toba Batak people. In the early 20th century, HKBP disported into several independent Protestant churches such as GKPS Simalungun and GKPA Angkol to accommodate church services for the Batak people outside of the Toba community. Before the conversion to Christianity, the old belief of the Toba Batak tribe was a mixture of animism and Hinduism with significant influence of Islam. In the beginning of the 20th century, some Toba Batak Rajas who refused to embrace Christianity instituted a religion inspired by the pre-Christian Toba Batak beliefs, customs, and practices. This religion is called Ugamomalam, with its adherents called Parmelam. The Parmelams worshipped Batamila Jadi Nabalin, which means the great Almighty God. A minority of Toba Batak are adherents of Sunni Islam. Many of the Muslim Toba Batak are originated from Port of Baris Sorghum, parts of Sibolga, and from Asahan areas. They are generally, in some cases of conversion to Islam, there are occurrences of Toba Batak Muslims disassociating themselves with Toba Batak customs and identity and prefer association with other ethnic identities, e.g. of their spouses, or to disassociate ethnic identity at all. This would cause the departure from the traditional Toba Batak customs and from choosing the more conventional Islamic customs in instances such as wedding or burial, as many aspects of the former are now seen as no longer compatible with the Islamic standard.